to the TD Show.
Touchdown Titans! There are no flags on the field! It's a miracle! Tennessee has pulled a miracle!
Broadcast live on the TDShow.com.
There goes Davis! Oh my God! Davis is going to run it all the way back! Auburn's going to win the football game! Auburn's going to win the football game!
2 hours of the best sports talk on the planet. Or at least out of Edmonton, Kentucky.
That is oh my! Stokely down the sideline! Can he catch him? Stokely! Wow! Touchdown! Denver! Unbelievable!
Coming to you live, your hosts, TJ and Dan.
Goosers!
Well, we're back, still talking a little MLB baseball. We went out talking about Captain Clutch, as I called him. Kind of ran out of time. Got a few other things we'd like to touch on in Major League Baseball. Braves make another off-season deal with some of their young talent. If you haven't noticed this year in the off-season, we haven't actually went after anybody, but we've made it a priority to lock up the young talent that we have. I'm glad to see that. I'm glad to see names that we can stick around and we can grow on. You know what happened back in the 90s? We had a bunch of young pitchers. We had a young Chipper Jones, had a young Andrew Jones, and we grew with those, and that's kind of what we're trying to do again. Last week we locked up Freddie Freeman for 8 years, $135 million. This was his second. This was his first contract that he got there. Yesterday we locked up Julio Teheran for 6 years, $33 million. Avoid 1 year free agency and has a $12 million a year option for year 7. That seems very cheap for the performance that Teheran had last year. What do you think about some of these deals?
Well, here's the thing. I think it was kind of a nice thing just for the Braves to do, to sign him to such big money. I mean, obviously, if he comes out and pitches the way he did after the All-Star break last year, for 6 years, they get a deal.
Oh, yeah.
But it was nice of them from the fact that, let's say that he blows up a little bit and posts a 4 ERA instead of a 1.5. He's avoiding all that arbitration and getting $33 million. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, it could work out well for either side because, I mean, they're just eating 1 year free agency. He was under their control for 5 years either way.
I agree. He was going to be there. They came out and gave him gave him some money. We saw what happened when he came out in the playoffs last year. I don't even want to tell you about what his ERA was in the playoffs, but he's a young kid.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be a good.
Here's the thing with the Braves: they've got a lot of good young pitching. They got him, Wood, Beachy.
Still got Sam McClure, not real young.
But I feel like if they lock all their young talent up, they're going to be good for a while.
Got the best closer in the game, in my opinion, Kimbrel.
I mean, you could argue that. I mean, top two.
Yeah, I was going to say 3 just to be safe, but yeah.
Him and Chapman, I mean, they're hand in hand.
Yeah.
He's got a little bit better control than Chapman.
Yeah, Chapman throws it hard.
Sometimes that helps Chapman, though. If you're standing there and somebody's throwing 105 at
your head,
yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get out of the way. And another thing with Chapman is I honestly think Chapman is going to be used a little differently this year. I know we're not into the Reds yet, but I think he's going to be used a little bit differently this year. I think we could see him coming in the 7th.
With Brian Price,
I'd be okay with it. I'd like it.
With Brian Price, I believe we will definitely see at least 2 inning saves out of him and some 3 inning saves. I believe there's going to be a lot different mentality there in Cincinnati than there was with Dusty Baker. And people say a manager is only responsible for about 5 wins a year, but I think Brian Price gets us those 5 extra wins.
And I don't, not to knock on Dusty too much, but I think he was responsible for a lot more than 5 losses last year. Just some of his. One thing you're also not going to see as much of this year, you're going to see more of Chapman and a lot less bunts, I think.
You know, hopefully a lot less bunts. Here's the thing that I think baseball will eventually evolve into that we haven't seen. It's been discussed in small circles. But if you're playing a team and it's 2-1 in the 8th inning and they're 2-3-4 coming up, I think we're going to get away from this thing where your closer has to get the save. I think we're going to see people start using their closer in the 8th inning against 3, 4, 5, as opposed to throwing your middle reliever in there against 3, 4, 5, or your setup man and having him come in at the bottom of the order.
And here's the thing: now that teams are getting this big money and contracts are getting crazy, I think the save stat is not going to become as important for anybody but Hall of Fame watchers,
Right.
Because they're going to be able to lock up those closers. They're not going to be having to get the best value they can out of those closers. Say, look, he's got 42 saves. Here's his value. They're going to be able to lock those closers up because they're going to have so much more money that I don't think it's going to matter if they get the save.
So I think we will definitely see if the Reds are playing in a save situation in the 8th or 7th inning, and it's 3, 4, 5, or for some reason it's lefty, 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 or lefty, right, lefty with not many right-handed hitters left on the bench. I think you're going to see Chapman come in those situations. But speaking of the Reds, Matt Latos, first day pitchers and catchers miss, tears his meniscus, has to have knee surgery.
He'll be back, won't he?
Well, he will resume pitching in 10 days, which is
Wow, I thought it was at least 6 weeks.
I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, they commented that it's possible because of modern medicine. That must be some dang good modern medicine.
I mean, I can remember people tearing their meniscus when we were in school, but they would be out at least 6 weeks while that thing healed up.
And there was debate between him and Cueto for the ace of the staff who would pitch opening day. I mean, my money was on Cueto anyways. I think he's an excellent pitcher, but a lot of people thought Latos was deserving. But I doubt that there's any way he's ready by opening day.
Mm-hmm.
I'd assume at least 2 months to get back to 100% in the middle of the season. I mean, you don't want to throw a guy out there that early anyways, that there's the possibility of seeing another injury. And we saw him err on the side of caution with Cueto last year, shutting him down towards the end of the season and saving him for the playoffs. So, I mean, I think it will hurt the Reds if they're deep anywhere. It's with pitching.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe that they've got that going for them. But it still hurts to lose a number 1 or number 2 pitcher on your staff for any amount of time.
I agree. That's going to be a big deal. Who the Reds can get out there first? Who's going to be able to pitch? Couple other big deals.
Well,
huge deals projected
right.
out there.
Scouts and upper management talking across the league saying, Trout's eligible for arbitration for the next 4 or 5 years. I guess they've had him under control forever. But I mean, I can't remember what he's supposed to be making, but it's minute compared to whatever his skill is.
Yeah.
Like not even $1 million. Mm-hmm. And there's talk that with the Angels spending as much money as they do anyways on Hamilton and Pujols, etc., that they try to lock him up now for 12 years, $400 million. What do you think?
That's so crazy.
I
think that if the Angels are going to spend money, and they want to spend stupid money like they spent on Hamilton, they spent on Pujols, you're getting a lot better buy.
Yeah, here's the thing
with Trout.
If I had the option of buying an Albert Pujols for 10 years at his age he was, or buying Mike Trout for 12 at the age he is now, I mean, the Mike Trout's a better deal.
It's a lot better deal if you think about the production he's going to get. Well, think about the money that A-Rod got when he came to New York and got re-signed. I mean, this is more than that, but I think the production you're going to get out of Trout. I mean, Trout is in his, 3rd year in the MLB?
This will be his 3rd year.
That's what I'm saying.
And
his 3rd year.
and 2 runner-ups for MVP in 2 years in the league.
I agree. I mean,
here's the thing.
It's stupid to see that number, but, I mean...
You've got inflation, and then you've got the fact of how fast money grows in baseball.
Yeah.
Combined to that, in 12 years, $33 million is looking a lot better than $33 million this coming up year.
Yeah.
So, I mean, for $33 million out, if I could do it, if my organization could afford it, I mean, I think I'd want it done.
We talked about Jeter retiring and leaving. Do you think Mike Trout's going to be the new, poster boy, face of baseball? I mean, a good guy doesn't have any kind of controversy attached with him that we know of.
I mean, I think he's almost there.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He's only been in the league 2 years. But he's in L.A., a big town.
But, I mean, I love sabermetrics, but, I mean, there's people out there that freak out over it. There's people with the sabermetrics. He's done things that people have never even thought about before in baseball.
That's what I'm saying. I think that he is going to be who we think of. You think of baseball right now, in the past 5 or 6 years, you think about Derek Jeter. You
Yeah.
can't like have a conversation about baseball without bringing him up. And I think that Mike Trout's going to be, not in saying he's going to be like Derek Jeter, I'm saying he's going to be the new Derek Jeter in that sense.
And the thing that's unfair, I think, thinking back to those 2 runners-up of the MVP, I think if he's year 5 and 6, he probably wins both those MVPs.
Yeah.
And that's unfair to him in that, what about if he has a career-ending injury next
doesn't
year?
get it, yeah.
Doesn't get an MVP and was the best player in the game for 2 years.
I agree.
But going back to that, too, you got your money in baseball guaranteed. You give him all that money, and 12 years is a long time. You don't know what's going to happen.
Right. I mean, and he's not a pitcher, so I mean you don't got to worry about his arm blowing out. For the most part, they could find something for him to do.
Yeah.
Hitting the ball, you can hit the ball with the leg cut off just about. So I mean,
If he can put up those kind of numbers with one leg, give him $800 million.
wow.
400 from the.
Before we go any farther, TJ was wrong, and the United States just beat.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I meant to update that, and I forgot. The U.S. did beat Russia 3-2, upset Russia.
Take some of that, Russia.
So therefore,
Tear down that wall.
those players that were playing today, Alex Ovechkin, they might be.
Alex
lined up.
Ovechkin, he's back. He's got a security clearance before he's back in the United States. I guarantee they're not killing him.
Do you think Putin goes down to the locker room and talks to him after the game for real? Though?
I don't know. I hope not. I hate Putin. I'm sorry if we have Russian fans. I hate Putin.
I'm
so
sure there's
bad.
somebody in Russia listening to us right now. Here's the thing about Putin, though. Even though he's a bad person, I'm getting a little bit into politics here. At least you know when you're messing with Russia, he's a pretty tough dude, and he's going to do whatever it takes to stand up for his country.
Yeah. Oh yeah. If I was a Russian
Hey,
and I wasn't
What?
getting killed by him,
Yeah.
and he wasn't moving me out of my house and shooting my dog, if I was a Moscow citizen, I would probably like him.
yeah,
I mean, Iran's not selling ships towards Russia.
right.
But
Right.
anyway, moving on.
You move-
Iran's already whipped Russia once, but we'll leave that alone.
Let's talk a little college basketball. There's a lot of college basketball going on this week. A lot to talk about. Last night, number 2 Arizona travels to Arizona State, gets upset 69-66. I watched most of the game. It was a close game.
I didn't
fell
watch the
asleep there in
first half.
overtime.
I watched the second half all the way through the end of the second overtime. Like I've said all year, I haven't actually said it on here, but I've said it to people. I don't think Arizona is.
Well, we mentioned
as
it
good
last
as-
week.
As good as they're rated.
Yeah.
They're in a very, very weak conference over there. You saw they got beat by an unranked Arizona State who played out of their minds. I'll give Arizona State that, and that's what happens when you get that ranking. It's almost a curse, you know. We're going to get into what happened at the end that fired me up worse than anything. But I don't think Arizona's as good as they wanted to be. But before we get there, I think TJ has a guarantee about Arizona.
Now, time for strong words from a manly man.
You say you're a script. I want to demand the script.
If you're looking for trouble, I'll accommodate you. Otherwise, leave it alone.
All right. Here is the thing about Arizona. We saw them beat Duke and Michigan this year. 2 of the better teams. I mean, I realize Michigan's 18-6, but they beat Michigan State, Wisconsin, and Iowa, who are in Ohio State, who are all 4 really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
So I think the problem in Arizona lies in that they can't get up to play lesser opponents.
I agree.
And I think when we get to March, we've seen it before with them. They're going to play somebody in the first round and the second round, and they're going to let their guard down, and they're going to get beat. So my strong words from a manly man guarantee this week, Arizona will not be playing in the Sweet 16 this year.
It's going to be a little while for y'all see if that happens. But Arizona gets put out in the first 3 rounds of the tournament, according to TJ. That being said, speaking about the point that you made, that they can't get up to play a lesser opponent, we know they've won a national championship. We know that they've been good the past few years, but they don't act like they've been there before. Do you know what I'm saying? They get a top ranking, and it's like they don't know what to do.
But I don't believe they're a top-ranked team. We spoke about
That's
this
what
last
I'm
week.
saying.
Right.
But when you're a top-ranked team, people are going to get up for you. They still
Right.
view themselves as
Right.
an underdog. They view themselves as an underdog. They don't view themselves as a powerhouse.
Which is almost the AP and coaches doing a disservice to them by
Exactly.
rating them
That's
that
what I'm
high.
saying. That's what I'm
because
saying.
they put them up there because, you know, we've got to pick somebody from over there to be good.
Yeah.
Somebody has to be
Somebody
good.
on the West Coast. I mean, UCLA dominated. Somebody over there's got to be good.
Somebody's got to be good.
Yeah.
Let's put somebody up there.
I agree.
And that team generally ends up being Arizona. And I just don't think the past 13 years, I don't think they've ever been quite as good as they've been ranked.
Right.
So that's my
we
game.
see what happened when they did win the championship. This was in 1997.
Right.
They won the championship and they weren't rated high. They came in as an underdog. That's sort of been their mentality all along. They came in with the chip on their shoulder as an underdog, and now everyone else is that underdog when they're playing them, and they don't know how to handle it. They don't know how to handle those T-shirt games that come with playing a new team, the number 2 team in the country, because they think of themselves as the giant killer. They think of themselves as
Right.
Goliath, and someone's put this. They think of themselves as David, and somebody put this Goliath title on them that they haven't earned and they don't really want. So I don't think that this ranking is helping them at all.
And, you know, speaking about that game last night, I watched regulation, and then I watched most of the first overtime, and I fell asleep. But goodness gracious, if anybody out there was watching that game, Bill Walton and I can't remember the other guy's name, but every play, every whistle, if I said the ball was orange, you said the ball was red.
Yeah.
And I mean, I just wanted to turn the volume off. It was that bad. If I'm ESPN, I don't ever let them do a game again together. I don't know if they live out on the West Coast and they get to do it by default, but
yeah, they were not. They weren't happy about any call.
that's a charge. That's not even close to a charge. That's a block. That's not a carry. It's just every play.
Yeah, it was almost like they had a stake in it, and I don't know why. I mean, if I was calling a game, just as I try to be on this show, I would try and be impartial. Just, tell you what's going on. I don't know. Anyway, let me tell you what happened, though, if you've been watching. Went into double overtime. In the second overtime, Arizona State hits a 3 with about 30 seconds left to go. Arizona brings ball down. I just assumed they were calling timeout. Come across the timeline, I think, they're going to call timeout, set something up. They don't. They do a crisscross dribble like they're burning clock until the clock's down to 10. They run a pick and roll, screen to the inside, go up for a layup. Ends up being like a jump layup from about 4 feet out, and it gets swatted. Arizona State picks up the ball, runs it down the court, and I think he's going to throw it up there and it's going to be over. No, throws it down for a dunk, hangs on the rim, celebrates. He's up for about 3 seconds. I'm okay with there being no technical.
And that makes the game 69-66.
They're up 3, 69-66. Yep. Ball goes through with what I thought was a little over a second left. Turned out when the clock actually stops in the arena, it's 0.8 seconds. The guy's still hanging on the rim, celebrating. I'm okay with it. Just knock the guy off, whatever. Knocked off the giant, they think. Then, with 0.8 seconds on the clock in the room, in the gym, still on there, buzzer didn't go off. The crowd rushes the floor. With 0.8 seconds left, time on the clock. Official standing at half court holding the ball.
Yeah.
They rushed the floor.
Right. I completely agree with you. I know you think it should have been a technical. There's no excuse for rushing the court.
With time on the clock.
With time on the clock. But I think we both knew watching that game.
The ball was getting rushed.
Yeah, the fans were up.
It was getting rushed.
Yeah.
I knew that was going to happen if they won.
We knew it was going to happen.
But the time was on. It's happened. I've seen it happen 3 times this year. Last night was the biggest.
But what do you do?
This is what you do.
Issue the technical?
Yeah, only if you do not rush the floor until the referee signs the book. If the referee has not signed his name to that book, the head referee signs the book after the game.
So does he go over there and sign the book and give to let people know they can do it?
Huh?
I mean, how do they know he's done signing?
He hadn't even left the baseline.
No, I'm not talking about that in that situation. I'm talking about in the future, if they enact this rule, how do you let people know that...
College officials will know. There'll be people in that stadium that work for the school that will know, and they can figure it out on their own. It's going to be up to the college officials, not the fans. Those fans would have ran out there at halftime if you let them. When they had a lead at halftime, they would have come out.
You can't entrust those few people to hold back 10,000 people.
If they explain to them, if you come out early, that's 3 points. They don't want to lose that game. It's going to have to be on.
What about
lose games because of this?
What about if 10,000 people rush the floor so they get the technical? Like 10,000 away fans come to a game.
I I don't know. You're going to have to put some security measures in place to let that happen.
I understand your point, though. I mean, I'm right with you.
I get why you want to rush the floor.
The band is on.
It's dangerous.
The band is on
The
the
band is
field.
on the field. Yeah, but if you're on the floor and it's still, that's like if you put 6 players on the floor at any time, he steps across the line, toe touches the line while he's on the bench. Technical.
Can you imagine if that happened today?
No. But I'm thinking you've got to do. That just fired me up last night.
Yeah.
I don't care. I don't like Arizona. I was glad they lost, but it fired me up that they rushed the floor with 8.8 seconds on the clock.
I'm in total agreement. Let's stay with college basketball. Moving to your team, UK 14th ranked in the country, to playing at home against number 3 Florida. Did you see what Cal said to the fans?
Said you're crazy. Gave him donuts last night. What are you talking about?
He told them that no one in the gym sits in the
Oh,
last
yeah.
8 minutes of the game.
Yeah, I saw that. I didn't know that was I thought that was a description, not a command. I didn't know he was telling them to be. I thought he was describing it. But I know there's people already camped out last night.
What time is the game?
8 o'clock our time tonight.
So a prime game.
Yeah. On the ESPN. It's Kentucky's 19-5, 9-2 in the SEC, undefeated at home. Florida's 22-2, 11-0 in the SEC. They've played 6 RPI top 25 teams. They haven't played a single RPI top 10 team.
I wouldn't think that that's unusual of most teams.
No, I'm not saying it is.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'm just giving you what's going on. Kentucky's also played 6 RPI top 25 teams, and they played 4 RPI top 10 teams. Kentucky's coming into this game with a basketball power index score of 88.75. Florida's got a basketball power index score of 89.38. I added those up on my own. They give you a BPI for every game based on how they were ranked and what you did. And so I came up with those numbers on my own. So by the BPI, Florida's a little better than them. Kentucky at home probably gives you 5 points. But it's the average. Kentucky's averaging 79 points per game. Florida's averaging 71 points per game. Kentucky's averaging 42 rebounds per game. Florida's averaging 31 rebounds per game. Kentucky's averaging 12 assists. Florida's averaging 13 assists. Kentucky's averaging 5 steals. Florida's averaging 7 steals. Kentucky's averaging 7 blocks. Florida's averaging 3 blocks. 12 turnovers for both. Field goal percentage is a slight advantage to Kentucky at 46.8 over 46.1. 3-point percentage and 3-pointers is where Florida makes their money. That's where they score a lot of their points. They're shooting 34.4%. Kentucky's not too bad, but we don't shoot very many of them is why we're not too bad. We're at 32.2, which is not much less. And Florida actually shoots worse from the free throw line than Kentucky, which I didn't think was possible. Here's what I want to tell you about this game is something that I want you to watch this week. So I'm going to go ahead and sneak this in here.
All right.
I'm going to do a little what to watch.
Honey, get my reading glasses. It's time for what to watch.
Thing I want you to watch today is the guard play by Kentucky. Both Harrison's and Polson when he comes in, limiting turnovers. Polson doesn't turn the ball over, so when he's in, we won't have to worry about that. Florida's averaging 7 steals a game, and they're averaging over 10 points off turnovers a game. Kentucky is averaging 12 turnovers a game as well as Florida. Whoever wins a turnover battle, which is obvious, it happens a lot, but that's who's going to win the game. Guard play is going to be a key issue. Florida's an older team, a more experienced team, and they shoot a lot of threes, but they like those fast break steal points. So Kentucky can control the ball, limit their turnovers, and keep that steal rate down around 3 or 4 instead of 7 that Florida's averaging. They're going to win the ball game. So that's what I want you to watch tonight is the Harrison brothers and Jared Polson and how they take care of the basketball as far as turnovers are concerned.
I'm actually going to give you an argument of why Kentucky is going to win this game.
Oh, I think they're going to win.
Yeah, but coming from me, a little bit more surprising.
Yeah.
Florida has lost 6 in a row at Rupp Arena. And the thing about freshman players, which Kentucky's had for a while now, every year, is that it's a lot harder for them to get up for a game at home or on the road against an Alabama or an Auburn or Mississippi State of late.
Right.
Teams like that. But when you got Florida coming into Rupp Arena
And it's hyped all week long.
Right.
Primetime ESPN
Top 2
game,
teams in the ACC.
Which you know what that means. You know who's going to be there.
The game day crew, I would assume.
And I'd imagine old Jimmy is going to be there, and that's going to drive me crazy. But proceed.
I think UK gets up for this game, and I think that's the reason Florida's lost 6 in a row. They get up for this game, and they're such a good offensive rebounding team. And when they play with their head and they're in a game, it's a lot different than when they're playing the Auburn and the Alabama,
I agree,
Mississippi.
100%.
I think they show up, and I think they win well in hand of what the line or what the projected favorite is. I think they win
3.
right for Florida. I think they win by 7 to 10.
And here's the thing: Kentucky's been running a zone lately that's kind of slow. What it does, that zone has done, is force those freshmen to play within themselves. They're not going to be able to run that zone tonight. They're going to have to go back to their man defense. But like you said, that place is going to be wild. I think they're going to be up and they're going to be focused. And if we don't turn the ball over, they're going to win.
Staying in college basketball, a tradition that I will have to come back to after the break.